Hello and welcome to another episode of Not Too Deep. I'm your host, Grace Helbig. I am so excited for you to enjoy this episode of Not Too Deep as much as I enjoyed recording it. We have comedian and all-around sweet, magical lady Arden Myrin with us today. You might know her from Mad TV. You might know her from her hit podcast, Will You Accept This Rose, covering the Bachelor, Bachelorette. Oh, we had just the most delightful conversation. I'm still buzzing from it. She's got a brand new book out called Miss Little Compton, which is her memoir based on where she was raised, Little Compton. And we just talked about everything. We talked about our shared experience being interns on Conan O'Brien's show. We talked about the being females in comedy. We talked all about the highs, lows, ins and outs of the Bachelor, Bachelorette. And she gave me some information about some former contestants that blew my mind and will probably blow yours. So please enjoy this episode of Not Too Deep with Arden Myrin. And please, I'm like out of breath because I was laughing so hard the entire episode. Please go get her new book, her memoir, Little Miss Little Compton. She's just so lovely. So enjoy this episode of Not Too Deep.
Not too deep. Not too deep. With Grace Helbig.
Arden, hydrating and here. I love it.
Hi, girl.
Hi, thank you for being here. Also, I've just learned your last name is pronounced Myrin.
It is pronounced Marine, and it does not look like Marine, and it's probably a bastard. Oh no, my headphone unplugged. It's probably a bastardized version of the name. Allegedly, apparently, it's like a Swedish name. But my brother went to Sweden, and he's like, we don't really know, but that's what it's turned into. It's Marine.
Marine, yeah. Okay, good to know. I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm so excited that you're here. I have a million questions for you and your life and your world and everything that you're up to. But I want to talk about, obviously, your book, which I have right here. So exciting.
Thank you.
Now, this is a memoir.
Yes.
And one thing I'm always curious about with writing memoirs, what was the reason to write it now or when you did?
You know, it's such an interesting, I tried to sell versions of this for 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. The first time somebody approached me and I actually sold a version of this, and then the whole company, it didn't all work out. But you know, I actually believe it's, and of course, over the years you get frustrated, and I just assumed it was never going to happen. And I actually believe the timing, I think this is the right version and the right draft. And it all worked out perfectly. Because I remember another book agent approached me 2 summers ago, and he was like, I want to take out a proposal with you. And at that point I was so discouraged and kind of I didn't want to get my hopes up again. I didn't want to be the girl at the dance that didn't get asked to dance,
Well, yeah, that, and because it's such a personal thing that it's not like if you write it once and it doesn't go the way you want it, you can just write it again. This is a very unique thing.
And I honestly just thought, I have a very unique family. My parents married on a dare. They weren't dating. They were coworkers. They were trying to get basically, you got 2 weeks vacation. Everybody, they'd never gone on one date. They lived in Manhattan. Everybody was out having cocktails on New Year's Eve, and they were trying to figure out how to get the maximum vacation time. And somebody figured out that if you went on a honeymoon, you got an extra 2 weeks. And so my dad dared my mom to get married. He was like, I'll take us down to South America I'll pay for a 4-week honeymoon, and then we can come back and we can get it annulled. And she agreed to the dare. They looked for a Bible to swear on. They couldn't find a Bible, so they swore on a cookbook. And then the next day she called him back and she upped the ante, and she said, I will marry you, but I don't want to get it annulled. And then they were married till the end. They stayed married for 50 years. And then they moved from Manhattan to this tiny, tiny town in Rhode Island called Little Compton. Thus the title Little Miss Little Compton is, I'm from this town of 3,000 people called Little Compton, which is the tiniest town on earth. And so it sort of starts there. So whenever I talked about my family and the town, when, doing monologues at ASCAT or something like that, people were always very curious. I had a very odd family in this sort of odd town. And So I thought it would be a good book. But then when this book agent came, Sarah Colonna and Guy Branum's book agent was like, I want to take out a proposal. And I was like, ugh. All right. Like, then I thought, okay, because it's so much work to put together a book proposal. And I thought, okay, well, who am I now? Like, why would I want to do this now? Like, what version of this? And I realized part of growing up in a house that was, my friend says that this reads, she said it should be called funning with scissors. Like, it's like a fun version of running with scissors. Like, it was crazy. And that there was so much magic that I got from it. But that it was also like, I did not learn certain life. I didn't know how to do life. And so I wanted to, I was like, okay, I wanted to write a book for like the younger version of myself that was sort of like, here's everything I wish I knew at 21. Like, here's everything I wish I knew, and that it's going to be okay. And you can figure it out, even though you feel like you don't know what you're doing. And it's okay if you didn't have the perfect fantasy family. And it's okay if maybe you had some people working against you, like that you can be okay, even if it wasn't sort of this idyllic upbringing.
I think that's beautiful because like me, you grew up without the internet. So you're in this small town. You only have your parents that are telling you this is how the world works, or this is what we're doing. And so you think that's so normal and everyone else is doing the same thing. So it must have been wild to share stories with people growing up and then hear that like, no, that's not what everyone did all the time.
I mean, truly, how big was the town that you grew up in?
I grew up in South Jersey. So the town that I grew up in was like 1 square mile. It's very South Jersey, bleak. It's exactly like, strip malls everywhere, like exactly what you would imagine it being. So a little similar, but at least we had the proximity to like New York City and Philadelphia. So there were opportunities.
Because I knew a lot of my cousins and stuff on Long Island, like they were close to New York, but they never went. Did you guys, did you grow up?
I grew up technically like across the bridge into New Jersey from Philadelphia. And I think I went twice in my entire like adolescent life. But I went to college in northern New Jersey and then moved to New York City after that. And that was like my big, I'm getting out of this small town thing.
Did you always want to get out?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah. I had, the color palette was always very dull for me, like metaphorically and like figuratively and literally speaking. Yeah. And so I was like, this can't be it. There has to be something else.
You know, it was interesting just in, chatting with people about the book. Mike Kaplan, the comic, he has a podcast and he was pointing out how, so my parents, I was aware of New York because they were from there, but my mom wanted my brother and I to be able to entertain ourselves. And so how there was literally no stores, there was no stoplights, there was a general store, the only coffee shop is like in a barn in an apple orchard. And so, like my favorite thing, like I wanted to get out of there from the time I was like 4, but that I would love to like play store and play. And he's like, that her plan actually worked because none of that was there. You had to pretend, you had to actually make it up as you went along.
Yeah. Your mom was working with your imagination very young.
Yeah. And that she thought she didn't want us to be over programmed. She didn't want, so it was an interesting, I looked like a boy till I was like 15. It was just an interesting thing. And then I moved to New York and I got out of there. I lived in Chicago when I was 19 and I just never went home. And it was an interesting thing just to realize I knew how to be ambitious, but I had no idea how to have like a relationship. I had no idea how to do I knew how to sort of shoot big career wise, but I had no clue how to do the rest of adulthood.
Right. I know where the goal is. I don't know any of the steps in between to get me to that goal.
Yeah. Or what do people do on Sundays? Like, I don't know what is anybody, like, how do you people like, how does anybody set up like a balanced life and like, not ruin it? How do you set up like a happy, balanced life?
Well, what was it like for you when you so Chicago was the first place that you moved to outside of Little Compton?
Yeah. I mean, I was in college for a little bit in Colorado and I was just ready to go. So I was so happy to be there. I started doing improv. I had to get a fake ID because it was in a bar. And so in order to perform, I had to say I was 21. And
wow.
It was amazing because I felt like, I don't know if you experienced this when you got to New York, but it was sort of for the first time I felt like I'd found my people.
Yeah.
it was interesting because it was like thrilling and one of the most fun years of my life there, but it was also mostly guys. Like there really were not that many women performing and I wanted to please them so bad. Like I knew I wasn't going to thrive in that. I was so much younger and I just didn't see that many women. And
did you know that at the time? Because I had a similar experience. Like I moved to New York after I graduated college. I was probably 21 or 22.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until people started asking me, like, what is it like being a female in comedy, that I really like put the pieces together, that I guess I like consciously like felt, but never was able to kind of make the light bulb go off for myself. Did you know that at the time, or was it more in like reflecting that you realized that?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I also went there. You know, I'd written plays through high school. And I'd never heard the phrase. I'd never heard anything about women being funny or not. Like until I started doing comedy, and then all of a sudden, you know, so many women I knew were funny. All my childhood friends in my small town, like kids are funny, you know?
Yeah.
So nobody told me that I was odd for a female. And then, but I remember when I got to Chicago, it was the first time, even though it was the most magical thing, it was also the first time people said to my face, like, well, women aren't funny. And and it was in the comedy world. And I thought, what? Like, I'd never heard that.
Right. And then you're like, is that a joke? I don't know how to take this.
Yeah. I actually found like, I don't keep most of my journals I shred, but I found like an old diary and I could see myself almost trying to thread the needle to make some of it okay.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Trying to make these, because I adored them and I adored being there. And I could see myself trying to like figure out how this stuff that wouldn't, I don't think they could say today, you know, back in the day, like it was the first time I felt somebody really snuffing. Like I'd never been aware of my gender that much.
Yeah, I think it was really put upon me to think about myself as a female in this world, because that was to others some form of handicap that I didn't even realize was something we discerned in the comedy world, let alone this was a weakness.
It's interesting, like just hearing you say that, like it makes me sad for my younger self, you know, like.
Well, it's also interesting. There's part of me that's like, I guess, happy that I didn't go into that world thinking that I had to wear this like armor and like prove myself as a female, but also wild that similar experience that you are forced to try to make sense of that for yourself without it being something you discover for yourself.
Yeah. And when I think back, I did know instinctively, oh, I don't see like my path to success here, or like, I don't see how I knew enough. One of the gifts my mom gave me was always like, protect your magic, protect what is unique about you, protect your magic, guard it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And there was something where it exposed me to like the talent and what people were doing and also going, okay, I'm probably not going to thrive in this particular environment. And I need to get myself out of here. And then I went to New York but how sad, because I think if there was another guy there that was 19, it was a guy, there was two of us, and like he thrived there, you know what I mean? And people treated him like the wonderkind because he was like the guy and there was a path to success, you know? So it's an interesting thing. You know, I mean, it is.
But the cool thing, and to tie it into your book and like what you said earlier, is sharing that memory for younger women that might not even know they're experiencing that right now. Yeah. Or, I mean, now, you know, years and years later, I think there is more awareness around all of that now. Yeah. But even at a time when, you know, not long ago, that you don't even realize until you start to unpack all your shit, that you're like, oh my God, this was pretty in my face. And I was just so happy-go-lucky and wanting to like please and do well and try to succeed that I couldn't even see this right in front of me necessarily.
And there was nothing you could do about it. It was like, even if you were there, even if you saw it, there was no like, come over here, this exists, you can come play here. Like it was, you know. And yet, I guess I will say, I look back on so many young ladies that did go through and thrive, and to see like how resilient and like learning to pivot and find your people, and like just go, okay, that pathway is a little bit blocked. Like where can I go? Where who's my ally? What feels safe? Like who can I make things with? Things like that.
So when you moved to New York, did you feel like you found a better group, a better situation there?
I think it was me. It was almost between me and myself, like there was something about, I could feel in Chicago that there was also within me this desperate need to please them and like to have them think I was good and have them validate it. And there was something like, no, you have to be the one. You have to like, just, you're the one that has to say good job. It doesn't have to be somebody outside of you. So I went to New York. I got an internship at Conan, and then I started doing stand up at night, and like I was an elf at Macy's Santaland. I was waitressing. I was like nannying, food delivery, everything. And
I also had an internship at Conan.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your internship?
My internship was just a general internship. It was when I was in college. So I was like taking the train in from Jersey like 2 or 3 days a week and just sitting in that conference room. Yeah. And just sitting in that conference room waiting for them to say that like someone needs to go to Whole Foods and get Conan 3 apples and make sure they're not bruised and bring them back.
So you're like waiting for Jeff Ross to be like, go get him some apples.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember I was on really early when all the good interns went to Letterman. And so the upshot of it was if you were kind of confident, you could get some responsibility. It was truly like the show that it wasn't cool. And so I was there 5 days a week getting college credit.
Wow.
And it was I was assisting the script coordinator, which was good because it got me down on the floor, and then I got in the control room during the shows. But it was interesting to see the nuts and bolts of an actual, to be on the other side of television production, and which I think helps you as a performer to sort of have respect for like, how does a show get built? And I had no connections. Like it's the first people I met. Like I didn't know anybody in TV, and that sort of the casting director helped me. Like I got another internship for another casting director, which helped me get an agent. Like it was just getting access inside like Oz.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember they take your photo on like a Polaroid camera and they write your name under it and they put it on this cork board so that everyone can try to refer to the interns by name instead of as like a sheep that are being herded in this conference room. And you look through the alumni of all these interns that had gone on to work on The Office and all of these shows. That was so wild. But then you see how not glamorous the day in, day out of the actual show making was, that it was such a juxtaposition every time I was there that I was like, okay, I don't know that I'm processing this enough in real time, but later I'll be able to look back on this experience and kind of see how it is. Because I was so scared. I was so nervous. I was like,
it was terrifying being in that. Did you ever get sent? Like sometimes when the copier, because I was so changed to the copier, sometimes I would get sent. There would be like elevators that went to like half floors. It felt like being John Malkovich. There was like weird internal. So you have this sort of beautiful 30 Rock. You got the Rainbow Room, like the Tonight Show stage. And then in the bowels of hell, there's these like elevators that go to like half floors. And then you go find some man that's like still smoking inside. Hudsucker proxy. Like they have not seen light. You're so deep in the bowels of the building to find some guy that runs like the engineering. It feels like you're in a bar. And you're in the bowel.
100%
hell. And then you go down for your like $2 Sbarro meal. Like I'm sure it was just it was
so wild. And I was so scared and so nervous that I was like, I didn't make an impression on absolutely anyone here because I was just so worried about doing a bad job, even though there was hardly anything to do because there were so many interns and such little like busy work at the time. But I was glad for the experience. Did you do the Page program there?
No, the Page people feel fully like the Tracy Flick from Election.
Yeah,
The Page, I was not together enough to be doing the Page program. Although I do remember going to a page party. Somehow I got invited to a page party. I'm really bad at pot. Like I get so high, and I remember getting so high at a page party. Like somebody's flying. I think it was Jason Nash who like
Really?
I think Jason Nash was a page.
Wow.
I think I went to Jason Nash's house and got so high at a page party that I was like almost paralyzed at a page party. Fully like somebody to get me home because I was like, it was like my kryptonite. Like I couldn't move. I was flying. But
That
yeah, they
sounds
always
right.
wear those stupid neckerchiefs and
Yeah.
the most like unfuckable outfit in America. Like, it's like I'd rather wear a UPS outfit. Like
I know. They're just walking starch. That's all
it's like
it is.
nylons. You have to wear like thick, almost like Hooters pantyhose, but then they like, there's nothing sexy. It's like thick nylons and
I'm glad
the pages were too uptight.
I'm glad you had that same experience because it's like something that I buried very deep after I experienced it because I was like so embarrassed that I might have done a bad job. And sometimes I reflect on it and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. Okay.
Isn't it weird when I have experiences like that when I look back on them and when I remember that like the entire wave over my body is just shame.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know why I feel so ashamed, but just like I want to like dig a hole in my yard, hide in it, cover it with leaves, and just like for shame, like hide yourself in your shame hole of like.
And the reality is no one there remembers me at all, but I'm like, I was awful. I must have been terrible.
I think the only reason I made any impression was because I was literally like week 7. Like it was so early on. And I mean, there was like 3 interns that were on it and the rest were so terrible that we were basically like unpaid like employees. We were just around, we were the only ones they wanted doing anything. So we were just there. I remember I got paid a bag of, I got like $13 a week.
Wow.
And the woman who doesn't work there anymore, but she was not my boss. I loved my boss. She was a few steps up. She would call the office every morning. She'd be like, can you go to the commissary? Egg sandwich and a so like I made $13 a week. She would have me go in the morning and like buy her stupid fucking breakfast. And I'd leave it
cost $13.
And she wouldn't reimburse me. And I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, be mindful, like rich lady.
Yeah.
Like just be aware. It may not be a lot of $3, $14. It may not be much money for you. This is literally my food. This is my ramen money for the week, you asshole. Like, and as I don't have, I'm too much of a people pleaser to ask for it back. But like, I just didn't want to pick up the phone when it rang because I knew she'd be asking me to spend the only money I had on her stupid breakfast.
Oh, that's so great. Oh my gosh. Okay, we have to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to talk about will you accept this rose?
Yes.
I have so many questions, so we'll be right back with more Not Too Deep.
Not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Hi, friends. Grace Helbig here from the podcast Not Too Deep, which you are currently listening to, hosted by me, Grace Helbig. Just wanted to say a couple of things. 1, thank you so much for listening. And 2, if you are enjoying yourself to such a degree that you'd love to leave us a review on the Apple Store, that would be so appreciated because again, you are very appreciated for giving us your time, your ears, your attention, whatever it may be. And that was my couple of things. Now back to me.
It's so hard to get started.
I know.
Here's
really,
what anybody listening, just keep going. Just put one foot in the front of the other. It is so hard to get started.
It is.
Just keep going and just know that everybody's been there and just make some stuff on the side with your friends, but just keep going and just know it. Everybody at some point in time had to start. Like it's easier to stay in momentum. It keeps going once you're going, but like just have the faith and just keep putting right foot, left foot. And it's okay if you need to dig a hole in your yard and hide in your shame hole. That's fine. I still get shame holes, you know? So just keep going. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
And the thing that I'm still trying to accept is that as much as you think people are observing you and like judging you, everyone's in their own head thinking about their own performance, their own world, their own lunch, their own everything. That as much as you think that this minor fuck up or thing gets noticed by everyone, it does not.
It's hard when you're around a bunch of strivers, though.
Yeah,
like, people, I feel like that was my entire time at Mad TV. Like, I feel like, I feel like I'd only ever been like a comedic actress where it's like, I play Molly, you play Sarah. We can be friends because you play Sarah and I play Molly. We don't write scripts. There was something about Mad TV where it was like, all the difficulties of Saturday Night Live with none of the Vanity Fair covers.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that experience because I don't think anyone, unless you actually work or experience what it's like to be hired on that kind of show, can ever really try to relate to what it's like.
I think for me, unless you're like the chosen one, I'm sure even the chosen ones have their journey. You know what I mean? I'm sure Kate McKinnon has a hard ride here or there. Like, I'm sure it was not easy in the beginning for her. Like, I think for the people that are sort of not the cover girl on Vanity. Okay. It's hard because you're entering into a pre-existing machine, and and so there's like, say there's 10 slots for sketches a week, and then like 5 of them are going to recurring characters that have been going on for many, many years, long before you got there, and then like 2 or 3 of them are going to like the celebrity guest. So there's like 2 or 3 spots left, and you're reading like 85 sketches. Wow. And so it's really. And maybe you have a good week, but then the next week you got to pitch again. And the
emotional roller coaster seems like you really have to have some ability to ground yourself here and there.
Kevin Nealon, I knew, and he was so sweet. He took me out he and his wife took me out for lunch when I booked it. And he was like, look, because he'd been on Saturday Night Live so long. And he was like, look, it's a marathon. This is not, he's like, the people that freak out and can't handle, he's like, you're going to have some weeks where you don't really have any sketches. You're going to have some weeks where you think your sketch is going to go great and it's going to bomb in front of the audience. He's like, if you cannot reset from week to week and just give yourself a fresh start week to week and just get, like, you have always, the good and the bad news is you always have a fresh chance on Monday, But like, if you get in your head and you lose your mojo and you get spooked, like it's almost like an ongoing pilot season that never ends.
And the thing is, technically you have the job already, but not really. But
you have the job, but you're auditioning for 3 spots every week that either you're writing or somebody, and you're competing against your friends, and the fun of it was fun. Like, the writers were so great. Like, so much of the cast was great. Like, I'm not somebody that loves competition. I like improv. I like to play with other people. Right. I like to be like allies and collaborators. Yeah. I like to play with other people.
Yeah.
And some people really thrive. Like, I wasn't like a sports gal that was like, I'm going to win, so that it was not the best environment for me.
It sounds, I auditioned for SNL and
Me too.
I like.
Did you do that thing? Did you do that? Like, it was awful.
Go to 30 Rock and sit in a dressing room for a question mark number of hours. And then it was, wildly taxing on my anxiety, and I did breathe a sigh of relief when I found out I didn't get it, because in my mind I was like, if there's any weird off chance that someone liked me in this audition, which I doubt, but if they do, I am not going to be able to sustain like a mental energy or a mental stamina to be able to survive in that kind of environment. Like, I'm not bred for that. I can't. I get too overwhelmed.
I knew. So I had the same feeling. I knew. I tested. I had not, at the time when I tested, I had not done like Groundlings. I had not done Seconds. I didn't have like a stable of characters. So I like just made a tape in my living room and then got flown to New York. So they'd never been performed in public. Like, I'd never done these in public. I just done them on my tape in my living room. So it's not like I had like years. It wasn't like a well-honed, like, I know I know the crowd loves this.
No, me either. I had a terrible Taylor Swift impression that made no sense and didn't sound like her at all. And I can't sing. And then a Jersey girl that I did in a video for the internet one time that was awful. And so it's like, if you like this, sure.
I remember at the time, I had a very sweet manager who had a terrible bedside manner, with women, a nice, big-hearted guy.
Yeah.
So I flew to New York. There was 4 women testing. Me, Amy Poehler, and 2 other women.
Wow.
And I, by the way, I knew it was Amy's year. I love Amy. She should have gotten it, and she did get it. I remember my manager the morning, but I was still oh my God, okay, I'm in the final 4. I've got a 25% chance.
Yeah.
He called me and he goes, on the way to the audition, he goes, break a leg, kiddo. I mean, they already offered it to Amy, but who knows? maybe the money's not going to work out. And I'm like, why did you tell me that?
Why?
Before I audition? Can you... They paid to fly me here. They put me up at their weird hotel. Can't you just why did you tell me that right as I'm going up in the elevator at 30 Rock?
Right.
And then
that's awful.
And then I remember auditioning, but I didn't hear for a month. I guess because her contract was being negotiated. and
these reflections. Yeah.
Yes. And I remember praying that I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I actually booked Mad TV that year, and I said no because I knew I couldn't handle it. It was sort of and then I actually took 4 years, and I went through IO, and I went through I got my insides. I did therapy, and I did a lot of live performing, and because I knew for myself, both my own insecurity and my lack of my 10,000 hours performing in public with that, I thought, okay, I booked it once. Let me actually go get the skills. I'm sure a guy would be great. Just let me start swimming. But I knew for myself, if I was going to stand any kind of a chance of succeeding there, I knew I needed to go do the work. And so I did. I went through the whole I got myself ready. I did my own show, and then I did it 4 years later.
That's really great because that's, having
crazy.
Well, it's having the patience with yourself to know that your mom said, you have a magic that you want to preserve, but let me go get some professional training and then really express my magic in a way that I feel good and grounded about so that I can protect it more in this environment than I could before.
That's really true. I think, and the goal wasn't, I actually never thought I would do it, because the goal I think was, I knew I wanted to make things. I knew I liked writing things. I thought maybe I'd try to write my own show or whatever. But when it came around again and I re-auditioned and I had, I remember talking to my mom and we made a list, the pros and I had done a bunch of pilots that didn't get picked up. And I knew Katie Siegel from Sons of Anarchy. And I just knew her a little bit. I ran into her, she was having a ice cream on the street. And I was debating I realized I was just very scared of a sketch show more than it wasn't that I thought I was better than it. I was just scared that I didn't know that I could thrive there. And I was and at the time, it's so much different now. But at the time, if you did sketch for a little while, you weren't really a real actor, So, but I remember her saying Arden, it's easier to stay on TV than to get on TV. You just need to get on TV. Just go get on TV. And it was such a, I'll always be grateful to Mad TV. I think of it almost it made me officially a comedian. I started doing stand-up again. I think it was almost like going to grad school. It was the hardest job I've ever had, but I think of it as 4 years of grad school.
Yeah. And you got a real opportunity to prove yourself in a way.
And I'd auditioned with all these sort of weirdo, awkward characters, and that they didn't want that. I was a redhead when I did it. They bought me. They dyed my hair blonde, and they wanted me as the blonde girl in the party dress, and which bummed me out. But then I actually found it kind of okay, can I be funny and not be like weird looking? Do I have to like not be the old lady or like not make myself like, can I worry just like if this is what they want and this is the only airtime I'm going to get, if they're going to put me, can I still be funny and not, and that was actually good for me. It was uncomfortable because it's not how I thought of myself, but it was sort of a gift to force yourself to go, okay, I guess I could do that.
Yeah, explore a side that you wouldn't have on your own necessarily. I also wonder to kind of like lead into your podcast, Will You Accept This Rose, which is about Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yeah.
I wonder if your experiences when you said like each week was a new opportunity to start fresh, if that gives you more genuine compassion for the people that go on to something like The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
I have so much compassion for anybody on earth. I have a lot of empathy just for the human condition, truly. I mean, when I say I looked like Barb from Stranger Things until I was 15, I mean, like that, I have compassion for mankind, truly. I have so much compassion. I really, truly believe most people are doing the best that they can.
Yeah.
So that's why also when people come on my podcast, Will You Accept This Rose? I very much am like, we don't hate watch it, but we make a lot of jokes about it. But these are real people.
Right.
It's interesting. I think Instagram has really sort of changed the game there because I think a lot of people now come on just to quit their jobs and become influencers.
Yeah, we've had some guests from the series here, and they're all doing books and doing their own different lines or podcasts or clothings or all kinds of things, which is very cool. But they're in what season is this for them?
109.
Yeah. And so it does feel like for them, it must be difficult to find a genuine, real person that's looking for love.
I mean, that's why I actually would argue that this. Do you watch the show?
I do watch the show. I haven't watched this season. We just had Kendall Long on an episode not long ago.
She's adorable.
And we talked a little bit about this season. I watched the first episode, but I don't know what's going on. I know that it was Claire, now it's Tayshia.
That happens tonight.
That happens tonight.
Tonight. Here's my pitch of why Claire, while a little bit batshit, is a terrific bachelorette because she's 39, and I think she's had a bunch of tragedies in her life, and I truly believe that this human being could not give two shits about a People magazine cover. She does not want to come sell FabFitFun. She's not looking to sell Tanner. She wants a husband yesterday. And I think she has like a real Cinderella fantasy of like this Prince Charming, but she is sort of all alone in the world. And so I think she's got like the combo of like the Disney princess fantasy combined with legitimately she is all alone in the world. And she's old enough that she's like, I want this yesterday. And that's why I think she's a fun bachelorette. And it's the perfect amount. 4 episodes. And it's the perfect amount in and out. And then we get the beauty of Tayshia, who will be cool.
And she already had an engagement through the show, right?
Yes,
I remember seeing whatever
Memoir.
Olympic or like winter games
Bachelor
or something.
winter games, yes.
Yeah, I saw that. And then, that they had their reconnection after the show was done or something on the reunion.
Ironically, if you watch the first episode, you notice they didn't mention that in her, like this season.
Yeah.
Completely edited out that the last we saw of her, she had just accepted a ring and was like going off into the sunset with French Canadian Benoit.
That's what I thought. That's why I couldn't believe that she was the Bachelorette again. And I was like, well, this is going to have to be a real heavy-handed storyline of why the other thing didn't work out. But I guess not.
That's the beauty of the Bachelor world. If you don't mention it, it doesn't exist, and that's fine.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on that whole franchise. About where can they go from here? How do they elevate it? Because I think I got into it late.
Me too.
I started watching a few seasons ago.
Who was your first? Who was your first season?
I think my first season was Rachel, but it was
Great Bachelorette.
Yeah, but it was like halfway through her season with a bunch of girlfriends that were diehard fans. And so I really had no idea what was going on, but I knew it was important because there was a lot of energy in the room about it.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Then I got really into it for a couple seasons. And then Ari's season kind of like, meh.
Yeah, he was gross.
Yeah. And so I fell off from it. And then I tried to watch Claire this season, but it just felt very repetitive to me, a little flat, I guess. But
maybe start tonight because I think Tayshia is smart. Tayshia's a fox. Tayshia is fun and doesn't surf for fools gladly. Yeah.
Yes, I thought, who was she with from Paradise? Didn't she reconnect with
John Paul Jones?
Yeah. JPJ. Yeah.
JPJ. Yes, I also started late. I didn't watch The Bachelor. I love a competition reality. I love like a Top Chef or Project Runway.
Yes, same.
I used to watch Top Model. I love Drag Race. I love a Great British Bake Off. I love somebody having to make something in an evening.
Yes.
So I wasn't until I was not a housewives, a bachelorette. That wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just full garbage. But so I started watching it like 4 years when Caitlin's season, somebody told me to watch it. And I was like, I have a life. I'm not going to watch it. And then I watched it. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I had a fever dream that I needed to start a podcast and talk about it with funny people. And
that's great.
I almost treat it like it's like a sporting event. I don't read any spoilers. We do draft picks. Who's drunk on the first night? Who's like going to be the villain? So this is from a few years ago. We do it from their bios. What season is this? So we have drunk on the first night. We pick the crazy ones. We pick number one. Basically, like who's going to get boned in a hot tub in Acapulco, but let go. And then I like that somebody wrote, like, this is a woman that my friend says has a face on a face. Like, she has a new face. She's got a new face. Like, some people look like they were probably like a natural beauty once, but then they had so many things done that they put a face on a face.
Yeah. That's a different face on another face.
That's a face on a face. So I just treat it almost like I watch football, or it's it's like a gaming season of who's going to go all the way. So I'm curious. It's like going to be like a reboot tonight.
Yeah.
Are there new guys? Are they bringing back the guys that Claire cut? Do they have different guys quarantining for Tayshia? I think the guys are going to be pretty excited. Like there was a shot of her coming out of the pool last week where it was the equivalent of like Daniel Craig and she was like literally coming out. Like her bazooms were just spectacular out of a pool and like a red bikini, just booming out of the pool.
We are awake and paying attention.
We are awake because Claire, while being a very foxy lady, has been so insane and just locked and loaded on this one guy, this Party City model. She fell in love with the Party City model.
Wait, is that real?
He hasn't said that. So again, that's the beauty of hosting a Bachelorette podcast. I don't go deep diving on anything, but people send me things. But if you Google Dale Taco Party City.
Oh no!
So basically, I think it says he's like a former like a football player, I think, but he's a Party City model. So he does all.
Oh my God! I just tried to Google it and it asked me if I meant Del Taco Party City.
Yeah, he does. So here's him. Here's one that's. Hold on. He's dressed as a gladiator and Superman and a taco. He does like all their outfits, which by the way, is a really fun job. I love Party City.
I know, same.
I love a party favor. You think I'd be mad to date a Party City model? Think again.
I know. These are people that have jobs. Like I've always wondered what these people, where do they exist in the real world?
He's a Party City model.
Wow. That's incredible.
Somebody's got to be the party. Somebody's got to model that taco. That taco's not going to model itself, Grace.
It's very true. It's very true. Now, I have a question. Because like you said, this is a show that from the outside seems very trite or trivial or, superficial, whatever. But the Bachelor Nation is a very devout, almost religious sort of community.
Yes.
Are you accepted in that community? Are you an enemy of that community?
Oh, fully accepted. I'm deep in. Deep in. I'm friends with the contestant. I'm a super fan because I'm not a snarky super fan. Like love it. I love it. I am like, oh, they come to my holiday parties. I am so deep in. Yeah, so I'm fully accepted.
Amazing.
They know I don't want to know spoilers. I don't want to know. Like, I'll hear the gossip afterwards, but I don't want to know.
You're a purist.
Oh my God, I'm a purist. I love it. It is awkward when you've made jokes about people and then they're in your podcast and you're like, hey,
nice to see ya.
Do you remember Carly and Evan? Did you see that Bachelor in Paradise? You would remember. He was the dick doctor and they all wanted to see babies. Okay. He was the only one that seemed like a little off put. He'd probably listen to a podcast.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's so wonderful. Okay. We have to take one last break. When we get back, I have a couple internet questions for you. So we'll be right back with more Not Too Deep.
Not Too Deep with Grace Helbig.
Arden, before we get into these internet questions, I'm going to ask you the two questions I ask every single guest that is on the podcast. The first is, who, alive or dead, would you most like to throw cold spaghetti at?
Thank you for asking. I've thought about this. I thought about it. I thought in advance.
Okay.
Because it's cold spaghetti, that feels personal. Like, as much as I would love to say like some awful historical figure.
Right.
If I'm very honest, it's a former coworker of mine that was my friend who I realized was working against me the whole time. And that was the most hurtful. Like, I felt so betrayed.
Wow.
I think that, so I feel like cold spaghetti is like a personal affront, like that's the specific thing. It's not going to hurt anybody.
No.
You can wipe it off. It'll probably actually wash off. Like, it's probably not even going to permanently ruin your shirt. So like, but the satisfaction of throwing cold spaghetti, I think that's somebody that's really hurt your feelings. To me, I thought it out.
I like that because it does feel like you're throwing a bit of shame on them.
Yes. And it's like, you hurt my feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who is your answer? Is yours a personal hurt?
Oh, mine's like every day someone different, because I also think that it can be a celebratory thing. I think it can be like a fun thing.
Like a Gatorade. Like, we won the game. Here's your cold spaghetti.
Yeah. And so there's part of me that like really would love to see Pete Buttigieg have like a cold spaghetti moment.
Fun.
But in like a sassy, loving way.
That's fun for him. I like that for him.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. The other question I ask every single guest is to tell us your worst pants shitting story or a close call, but you can only use 3 words or 3 small phrases. So mine is college, jogging, front lawn.
Okay. Mine is very similar to yours. Mine is coffee, jogging, neighbor's lawn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one.
Neighbor's lawn.
Oh,
twice. 2 neighbors.
Really marking your territory.
Twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Fool me once.
Fool me once. One of them was almost like I was like, you know what? I've already done it on this lawn. The second one was like, you know what? Fuck them. Let's go to this lawn.
Let's spread the wealth a little bit here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's get into some of these internet questions for you. This is a little bit opposite of what you just told us via the spaghetti question, but
Love it.
Who is the nicest comedian that you have ever worked with?
Oh, I love that. He's a rascal, but his heart is huge. I love Bobby Lee. I love Bobby Lee. He can't keep a secret. He's
a little messy.
He is a complete imp. Like, he is truly like a little sprite that is like, but he means no evil. Like, his heart is pure, and he's just such a little rascal, but his heart is huge. So I would say sweet. Bobby Lee. I also love Lauren Lapkus.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Here's a question about that. Someone asked, Arden, I love your friendship with Lauren Lapkus. How did you two meet?
We love each other. We text all day, every day. It's interesting in the pandemic, like, who fades away? Like, some of my favorite people, it's like, well, I'll see you in 2023.
I guess.
You don't know who, like, for whatever reason. I love Lauren so much. How did we meet? She did my podcast a few times. I don't even know. But then we started having a monthly dinner date with Brian Safi. We would have a dinner and like we would rotate. We would go to a new restaurant each time and one person would pay for it. And then we'd rotate and that person would just get to, we would rotate who paid in the restaurant. And then, because I really just liked both of them. And I felt like, it was like, there were two people that I actually like courted as friends. Like that I thought I was like, I want to be their friend. And then Lauren came to my hometown. She came to Little Compton, so did Brian. And then Lauren and I went to New York. And then it's just, again, you never know in life. Like sometimes you'll have a friend lunch with somebody and it doesn't go anywhere.
Sure. Like, and also like making friends as an adult is sometimes awkward and weird.
Dude, when you moved, I found LA even more than New York. New York, I hit my stride pretty quickly.
Yeah.
LA, it took me a while to find my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And then some awkward friendship, like, would you like to have a meal? Like your friends, like courting your female friends as an adult. And then when you're not in the confines of like your work structure, like, so say you meet on a job and then that job ends. Do you have anything to talk about? Like, you don't know if you can transition without like, oh, Brian and, you know, wardrobe, like, you know, like,
right. And then you're like, do you still want to talk to me after this linking thing that we have in common is gone? Like, how do we?
And most people, no, they don't. They don't want to talk to you. Most people are camp friends. You think, we're going to have this, you know, we're never going to remember. Like, it's always going to be camp, whatever, forever. And it's like, not really. You can't transition to your winter school friends. Yeah. Like, I feel like you're lucky. I feel like you're lucky if you truly make one real new friend a year. I try to make one new friend a year.
Oh, that's a good thing to think about.
It's hard.
It's very hard. And like you said, in pandemic, you really find out like who does want to keep talking to you and like who is totally okay with not knowing your life for 8 months.
And it's tiring. Everybody's exhausted. Let's be real. Everybody's like, ooh, this is a lot. Like this year is a garbage fire. Like we're all just like, it's literally all like everybody just sits their turtle shell and just
and there's, like you said, compassion and forgiveness of everyone's handling things in their own way.
Pandemic pass. You get a pandemic pass.
Yes, 100%.
You also don't know in life who you're going to keep as a friend. Like you just don't. I wouldn't have guessed my friend who wrote my foreword, Debbie Ryan, the star of Insatiable. We did Insatiable together. Little did I know that this former Disney star would be one of my best friends. She came to Little Compton too. She came with me and Brian and Lauren. Like I talked to her all the time during the pandemic. You never know who your pal's going to be. You just don't know. I would never have guessed that of everybody on that show, that young lady would be like, that's my friend. That's my friend, ride or day. No rain shall fall on Debbie Ryan.
You can't deny a kindred spirit though.
We are definitely spirit animals. She's also a rascal. She's a rascal.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, someone wants to know, what's your favorite Bachelor or Bachelorette moment? That might be a difficult question.
Oh, gosh. I mean, my favorite Bachelorette, period. My favorite Bachelorette was Caitlin. I thought that she had a sense of humor. She was fun. She was a full rascal. The first thing that came to mind, although I got sick of Chad by the end because he actually felt like a dangerous psychopath, but I did enjoy when he had the double date, the 2-on-1 with Alex the Marine, and they're in that awful woods, whistling in the woods, when he just turned to him and he was like, you don't like milk, man? You should like milk. Milk's delicious. And he goes, well, life ain't all blueberries and paper planes. And I thought, you're a true psychopath. And guess what? That gentleman now, if you look up Chad Johnson, he literally is doing... What is that porn site? Like that popular, like porn
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans. He's doing OnlyFans, and he has like a Hummer, and he'll be like, "Hey, Chris Harrison, guess what? I just fucked in front of your house." Like he's like parks his Hummer and films himself fucking in front of his enemy's house. It's incredible. That's incredible. That's such a great that he actually thought it out, got the Hummer, actually it's funny. He is actually executing it. And he'll be like, I'm fucking just like your new, he did it in front of JoJo and Jordan Rogers' house. He's like, your new home has been tainted. Every time you walk through the door, think of me fucking on your doorstep. I thought,
wow.
out of your jib. You're crazy. But
that's like next level villain status.
Right? I
Like,
mean, I don't want to encourage him. I don't want him to come do it in front of my house.
no.
But I respect if he could just take it from an 11 to like a 7.5.
Ooh, yeah.
I think he's actually legitimately dangerous. Like I don't go too deep diving on him. I actually think he's a bad thing. So let me just also say I'm not supporting this man in the least.
Right.
I just would like to say I enjoyed the Blueberry and People Plane, and I think it is insane that any human thought his equivalent of throwing cold spaghetti is parking like an American flag-shaped Hummer and doing it to taint your household.
There is so much to unpack in that. That is so wild.
It's when people actually execute it. It's like beyond coming up with it that they didn't stop themselves, that they paid the money to do it.
Oh my God. Yeah. There's so many decisions that had to be thought of and said yes to and done to get to that point.
Well, there was never a point where it's the equivalent of like road trip. We're going to Vegas. There's never a point where you're like, all right, I'm tired. Maybe I should stop. Like we didn't get to Vegas yet. Maybe I should go back to Bakersfield. Like there's no point where it's such a long distance journey that there's so many points along the way where you could easily give up on your dream of executing this.
Yeah, there's like something dangerous about his ability to focus his rage in such a specific way. That is a little. I
feel badly
curious.
even giving a psychopath this much airtime. I wish he didn't have like his criminal mind is
on another level.
I've never seen anything like it. I don't need another one like him. I don't like an actual scary person on my show, but I did enjoy that moment.
I'll stick to the Party City model level.
Oh my God, Taco Dale. Are you kidding me? It's like make him perfect, and he can be so perfect that that he's at least a Party City taco model.
I love it. Okay. Yeah. Arden, I could talk to you for 17 hours, but here's the last question for you that I'm sure you've answered probably many times. But if you could plan a full date on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, what would you plan? How would it go?
Nobody's asked me that. I always ask people. No, people always ask me. I ask people what they would wear getting out of the limo.
Yeah.
I always panic. I know I would panic. I would be bad. I would do like a mullet dress because I'd want to show my legs in the front, but then I'm like, I still want it to be formal. So I'd probably do like a hot pink. I'd want it to pop. So it'd be like a hot pink mullet dress. It would be misguided. It wouldn't be sexy.
I thought you were saying Misguided, the clothing company.
I Misguided, the clothing company. Hashtag FabFitFun / Arden at Misguided. What would you wear out of the limo?
I would go straight sweatpants and like t-shirt and just be like, this is the reality of what I'm about.
That's what Lauren Lapkus said.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. I would really try my best to not wear a dress the entire time I was there.
Manage the expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. My dream date. First of all, I want to be in like a castle in Ireland or something. I want to be somewhere exotic. So I want to be overseas. So I've made it to Thailand. I'm like in the final 4 or 5.
Okay.
We're not at fantasy suites yet because I'm not ready to go I don't want to go get herpes from somebody. No. But we can like dry hump. Okay. Yeah. So like the equivalent of like, I want to be past the no name band. I want to be past that brand where they're like, I was so happy when Tennille Art showed up. Like I want it to be like, I remember back in the day, they had the Cranberries played. I want them to dust off somebody cool.
Yes.
Give me somebody cool from like U2 played. You know what I mean? Like somebody from like that would thrill me from like the Dave Matthews Band. Like, yeah. But like I remember like losing my virginity to this. Like, okay, great. So there's Dave Matthews.
Okay.
And then I guess I would go cold weather because I don't want to have to wear a bikini.
Yeah.
So I guess I would go like, I've got like a cocoa or like I'm walking around the city, like some cute northern city so I can be bundled in a scarf. We like sample some like scotch or something. And then I need fireworks. I need like a helicopter ride. Yes. I need at the very end, there's Dave Matthews. And then I want to get like dry humped against a wall in an alleyway with like cobblestones underneath me. Like I want to be so grinded against a wall that I actually want to go get herpes. Like I got grinded for 4 hours against a wall by some like Party City model. And I'm so hot for the real thing because there was Matthews and there was a cobblestone and that taco was just getting at it. And I needed it. And like, but I got to wear like a hood and like bars. I had like a muff on, and like that's what I would do because I didn't have to wear like a tankini and like stuck it in and be like, sorry, I have big boobs, but they're heavy and low. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I would want. Like, give me like a Nanook of the North gets dry humped in an alley.
Yeah, and when you're wearing that many layers, you really have to work for that dry humping.
Yeah, it's like definitely like a jean situation. Like a college or a high school denim jean is like kind of hurts. It's like hurting your pubic bone because he's clearly in a taco costume. For warmth. So like it's definitely hurting, but you're like, but he's in some kind of like cowl neck sweater that's terrible. Some stylist has put him in, and he's just you're in like a high heeled booty that you like can run around Dublin in, even though you're in a high heel booty.
And it's just slow dissolves.
What's your dream game?
Wow. Oh man,
It's gonna be hard to beat that one.
I know that's so good. I feel like my mind goes to like medieval times or something like that. Which I feel like they've done stuff like that on that show. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I would want to go to like something like a Dave Matthews, but like performance wise. Yes. So there's like something else to take the attention and the sound away from all of the grinding that goes on.
You don't want to have to like slow dance in front of a crowd of women that are filming you on their iPhones.
Yeah.
You're standing on a raised platform, slow dancing alone in front of a crowd of like housewives that are filming you. And
I don't even like slow dancing with my boyfriend at like weddings. So like the slow dance on television is like the worst punishment someone could have to do.
And just slow dance with like a height difference. Yeah, I'm not a tall gal. You're a tall gal. I remember meeting you at midnight. I'm like, that's a beautiful tall gal. She's a tall drink of water.
Oh, thank you. I'm a tall lady, so I wouldn't want to wear heels or do any of that kind of stuff.
But that's a slow dance. That's a better slow dance than like
Yeah, but see, I would just hate, I would opt out of the slow dancing situation too. I'd probably be like, do you want to get high and watch Alone on the History Channel? It's a really cool survivalist competition show.
But I would only do that if you were dressed as an NBC page.
Yeah.
Question.
I love it.
What is Alone?
Oh, Alone is another competition show, but it's about survivalists that live outside and they try to outlast each other in the wilderness by themselves.
I love Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, it's a little different because they are alone, but and clothed, but they're so good at building shelters and surviving, and something about watching it, knowing I don't want to ever do anything like that is very pleasant. It's like kind of a nice show to have on in the background. There's a lot of hunting and a lot of like showing animals and all that kind of stuff that I'm not into. Sure.
What channel is this on?
The History Channel. My boyfriend and I just got into it. It's a good bingeable show if you got time.
I love me a Deadliest Catch. I like an outdoor show. Yeah. I will say this. Have you ever watched Naked and Afraid?
I've watched some. Yeah. That is wild.
Did you ever watch the first season? There was I believe he was a former Marine. He was a ginger. And I say this as a real life ginger. He was a redheaded gentleman. He was down near the equator. So he was like some island close to the equator. Uh-huh. He was so sexist, and then he immediately got so sunburned that all of his skin and shoulders, it was like peeling off. And then he drank the water, and then he was such a dick, but then he did a circle of diarrhea around the hut and the bed that do you remember this guy?
No, I never watched the first season. Oh my God.
Do yourself a favor and just kind of click through and look for the ginger guy, the ginger that got sunburned and made a trail of diarrhea around their sleeping quarters.
Oh my God.
Do yourself a favor, Grace. You need this.
Will.
You need this in 2020. It's your pandemic passphrase.
I'm making a note. Thank you for that.
Please.
Arden, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for this conversation.
My only regret is I didn't purchase and wear an NBC Page outfit. I know.
Next time. Where
That's my
can
cosplay. That's my cosplay look.
yeah. Oh, before we wrap up, I almost forgot. Every guest that is on the show gets a personalized fortune cookie from us to you. So I believe Melissa has emailed you a digital fortune cookie.
Melissa is on it. Yes, honey. Yes, honey. Yes, Melissa. Excuse you for nailing it so hard. There she is. We clicked on a digital tarot card for you, and it was the Wheel of Fortune, and it just said, no, please decipher that how you will. Well, that feels terrible. You guys just put a curse on me?
Well, maybe it's a good sign that you don't need fortune. You have so much goodness in your life already.
Maybe it was like, don't go work with Pat Sajak.
Yeah, that too.
No means no, Pat Sajak.
Arden, where can people get the book? Where can they see everything that you're up to if they don't already know?
You guys got the book. Just get the book. It's so fun. It's a fast read. There's pictures in it. If you want a signed copy of the book, and if there might be a few left with a free custom Little Miss Little Compton tote bag, which is cute. You can go to Arden Myrin book. Don't kid yourself. That looks like Arden Myrin book. It's ARDENMYRIN book.com. I also host Will You Accept This Rose on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as Arden Myrin, MYRIN. Grace.
Awesome. This was so fun. Like I said, come back, talk to us. We could talk for hours and hours and hours. Deep dive into all of it.
The feeling is mutual. And if you do watch Tayshia,
I will.
Know. Let me know if you want to come play with us, because it's the most fun thing you'll ever do.
Oh, I can't wait. I will for sure let you know, because I have run out of so much Alone to watch. So I need to move on. Thank you again, Arden, so much, guys. Go get the book. Go follow everything she's up to. She's just incredibly lovely and hilarious, and you won't regret seeing everything that she's doing. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode of Not Too Deep. Goodbye.
Too deep, too deep, too deep, not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Not Too Deep is a production of Grace Helbig Incorporated, producer Melissa D. Montz, edited by Shireen Lani Yunus, post-production sound by Chris Henry, and an extra special thanks to Flula for the theme music.